Hey, welcome to today's session. Can the guys on the stream hear me well? Yep. Okay, so today we'll be looking at something that we have not done as a main webinar before. We're going to look at both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I think we have seen recently see the all-time highs for Bitcoin. And so we're going to compare that against Ethereum as well, the two major cryptocurrencies currently on the market. All right, my name is Shuman, and I'm an FX strategist. Today is the 9th of July, and we will be looking at some of the fundamental analysis on these two cryptocurrencies. And by default, we also look at the technical aspects or technical analysis of these two cryptocurrencies as well. Okay, quick disclaimer, trading any forms of derivatives carries significant risk. Do ensure you fully understand the risk before making any trading decisions. Okay, no financial advice here, but we usually go through certain setups that can be helpful to your own trading methodologies. Okay, always start off with your own demo account first before moving on to your live accounts. And as always, if you're ready to start your live accounts, you have the deposit bonus by Vantage up to 50% for your first $1,000, and a subsequent deposits will get you a 10%. All right, so I'm just gonna go through let me see if I can generate a link for this quick analysis done by AI. So AI is all the buzz nowadays, so you can do a lot of this analysis really quickly using AI, get them to look at some of the news online, put them all together in the canvas and review them here. All right, so I think quick understanding of Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're kind of like the two major cryptocurrencies in the market. One very important thing that we usually compare is the Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio analysis. Ethereum tend to lag behind Bitcoin. So we can see Bitcoin dominance going up against Ethereum from 2021 all the way down to July 2025. But of course, if you are listening to some of this more recent news, there are certain upgrades or certain drivers that will actually make Ethereum a very attractive cryptocurrency to own. And of course, for Bitcoin, a lot of the news revolves around the halving, which happened in April 2024. With every halving, you get lesser and lesser number of Bitcoin being produced as a mining reward. And so when the demand increases and your supply decreases, that gives you that boost in the market price. Okay, so expectations, a lot of words, a lot of news on the streets, but 120,000 is something that is the near-term target for most of this Bitcoin analysis. And then for your Ethereum, 4,000. 4,000 is a price that we have seen in the peak of the 2021-2022 crypto boom. So I think 4K isn't that too hard to a target to reach, but of course the upper limit is 15,000. All right, so pretty cool in terms of like the analysis done by Gemini. Okay, 2.18 trillion. A lot of this information can be found on CoinMarketCap. And if you're in the know of cryptocurrencies, these are some of the things that you're actually watching. the higher the market cap, the more interest you get in that cryptocurrency, the more likely you see a higher demand for that cryptocurrency. Okay, so we'll quickly go through some of this from the technical aspects. Okay, cryptocurrencies are offered by Vantage. So if you want to trade BTC under Vantage, you get the BTC CFD. Okay, so just bear in mind what are the differences. Okay, when you trade BTC USD on Vantage, you don't own the underlying cryptocurrency. Okay, you're trading just a contract against whoever is on the other side of the table, and you will either pocket the profits, or in the event that the trade goes against you, you will pay the difference from your entry to the exit price. Okay, so I think that is more of like the different instruments that you can trade using BTC. If you are looking for a more reliable way to accumulate BTC, you usually do that through buying some sort of Bitcoin ETF. Okay, one of the ETFs, there are a couple of Bitcoin ETFs, and I think a couple of Ethereum ETFs also. But one unique thing about Bitcoin, so a lot of companies are actually building up their treasuries and with Bitcoin. So one of these companies is MicroStrategy. So they raise funds and they accumulate Bitcoin, and when Bitcoin appreciates, they pay out in dividend. So the stock price is usually closely correlated with Bitcoin because a lot of their holdings are in BTC USD. Okay, so we're going to quickly do an analysis on Bitcoin and see how we can reach that $120,000 target for Bitcoin. As always, we look at the higher time frames. Does the pivot points work for your cryptocurrency? Okay, the answer is it should serve as a guide, not as the holy grail. So yep, we're going to use that to kind of analyze where the 120K is going to be. Okay, so quick overview of your pivot points. Usually want to look at the momentum that happened in the previous month. Okay, right now we're looking at the monthly pivot in the previous period. So if you're on the daily, the previous period is yesterday. If you're on the monthly, the previous period for this month would be in the month of June. Okay, so we usually want to look at the momentum of what happened last month and then use those key points, the high, the low, and the close, to kind of determine or project certain key levels for this month. Okay, so the average of last month's high, low, and close would be the pivot point. And then we have S2 and R2. S represents support, R represents resistance. Let's see if this is clear enough for the guys on the stream. Let me zoom up a little bit. Okay, so R represents resistance, S represents support. S2 and R2 are equal distance from the pivot, and the distance is what we saw in last month's range, right? The high to the pivot will be the same distance from pivot to S1. The low to the pivot will be the same distance from pivot to R1. Usually when you're bullish, you want to buy just below the pivot and above M2. This is kind of like the key area that we're looking out for a buy. And the target would be R2, M4. If you're selling, then you want to sell just below M3 and above pivot. And you want to enter somewhere in this red zone here, and the target will be M1, S2. How do you determine if you are bullish or bearish? You want to look, okay, there are two ways you can do so, okay? You can either go to the monthly time frame, okay? And based off the analysis you have on the monthly time frame, and make a judgment on what's that move going to be like for this month. Or if you want a a simpler method using the pivot points. Okay, go down to the daily, set your pivots to the monthly pivot, and you want to look for a month in which the price broke above R2 for a bullish move, or a month where below S2 for a bearish move. Okay, so the closest month that we have for a bullish move would be the month of November. And we just want to highlight the R2 and 4 area here. Drag it across, and this is probably going to be the short-term support for Bitcoin. Okay, so the 80,000 level is the short-term support for Bitcoin, and anything above it, we are going to be bullish. And if we do break below an S2, right, either above this level or below this level, then we're going to be bearish. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight the target for this month, and we're shy of that 120,000 mark. Okay, so we probably won't hit that target this month. If you were to ask me, right, we want to do something like this. We want to create a higher high. Why is this? We're going to create a higher high breaking above this high, and then we want to retrace back down for next month, and you will see that the month of July, the R2 and 4 is going to be somewhere in the 120,000 zone. Okay. So a few key points we want to take note of: this level here, and also this key point here where there was the last group of sellers that wanted to sell. Okay, this was the April tariffs. Came back up into this level, and then the last group of sellers that failed to sell and push it lower, this is where they got stopped out. This is an area of interest for buyers. Okay, so you probably won't see an $80,000 level, but if it does come back to 83,000, this is going to be a good entry for us to enter. Okay, so this is on the higher time frame. We are bullish this month. Entry for us would have been somewhere in pivot M2. Okay, so if we hit the middle of this month, okay, usually the time needed to actually do a lower low, and then to hit the price here, usually we need at least a month to actually do it. So whenever we reach the middle of this month, okay, the price action has already been established, and we will be looking at the single target up here. And for any sell-off, we would probably be seeing a take profit off this highs and coming back down to this low. Okay. Right, so I'll give you an example. Sometime in April as well, see, as it comes back up, as we are approaching the middle of this month, the price action has already been established, so we would not see it making a high and then a low. Okay, same thing for this month. It came down by the mid of this month. It went back to the opening price, so you probably won't see a continuation to the upside, and therefore we saw that sell-off. So same thing here, coming back to this midpoint. Okay, you'll probably see a continuation up to R2 and 4 before a retracement. Okay. So again, this was the resistance, right? Lower high, down lower high, and then as it breaks up, okay, we're not too sure if this is still going to form that resistance, but when it comes back down without pushing lower than this gap here, okay, this is almost certain that the buyers have doubled down. So you have a lower low here, and then you created a higher low here. And so this is probably what we're probably going to see is a continuation all the way up to R2 and 4. Okay. So same thing, same analysis. Okay. You probably want to see that cycle from here, this high up, created a higher high, but stochastics went down, so there was a divergence here, giving into this downward move, right? So this was one entire cycle. And so this is the next cycle. So we are broken above this high. So this entire area is going to be a pretty solid support for us. And if you compare this area here, which was the low, okay, this was the sell-off, came back up into this area. Okay, this is where your sellers should, the last stand for the sellers, okay? So this entire area got wiped out. Your sellers got wiped out, pushed back up, came back into this area. You ranged within this area, and now you broke out above this level. So then, if you go down to that lower time frame, you will probably see where that last group of sellers filled. Okay, they came in, sell here, and then this is probably where we want to look for an entry to buy, at least for today. Okay, we do not want price to fall below this low, so this is going to be kind of like the entry for us. Because if it breaks below this low, then you probably revisit into this area, and you'll probably get a better entry here. And then the move to the upside would probably be around this level. So 1:6, pretty good risk to reward. A lot of liquidity will be aiming this area here. So if we pass this level, then this will be invalidated, and the target would be all the way up to R2. Cool. So Bitcoin, this is the setup for us. Again, 120,000 is the price target. Breaking above this high, we'll be targeting this high here. We did miss the weekly analysis. So if you're on the weekly, okay, this is kind of like the setup. Okay, we were expecting the price to push all the way down to this level. Okay, because this was the start of this massive push to the upside. Okay, so we might see a failure of the sellers here. Okay, this spike candle here showed that sellers came in. They failed, it pushed up. So all of the sellers in this area here gone, and it provided a very good support. So buyers, as it comes back in, buyers are coming to tap to this level and bringing the price up. This falls within above M2, below pivot. And again, if we are buying for the week, this is where we're trying to look for an entry. Target is R2 and 4, and possibly the 113,000, this level here. So buy up into this area. Two targets for us here. This previous high from Monday and this high from Thursday last week. Okay, so once we break above this will be the target. We look for any retracement back down to this level or breaking above this, right? Coming back down again like this. And then the target up to that weekly R2 and 4. Okay, but prior to breaking this, the entry that we have, it's this seller's failure. Okay, so $109,086, right? So this piece here, right? And we do not need to have a super fast stop loss. Okay, we just need to put it below that previous low, because this was where all the buyers came in, buyers. And if sellers are willing to sell below this level, triggering our stop loss, okay, we do not want to be in this position anymore. And it's probably going to do something like this and then back down again. All right, so this here, why we're putting the stop loss, just in case it goes like this, right? But nonetheless, this will be our best entry here, given that we have additional entries here. So this was the first entry last week, yesterday. Okay, this entire area here is the weekly pivot M2. Okay, so sell off, failed here. Yesterday's was Tuesday, 8th of July. So yesterday New York session gave us one opportunity. So if you're not convinced, again, bounce off this level, up again. And you can see that continuation of the downside was caused by this 50 minutes candle. Okay, as it comes back in, this is where it bounced off. Okay, you kind of want to be wary. Either this or this candle here, 50 minutes candle, is going to give you some sort of support. Okay, so you know that anything below this level, okay, you're safe. So you want to put your stops there. If your entry is all the way up here, okay, now you need to debate whether or not you want this, which is 1:2, or this, which is 1:1.3. Okay. And of course, if you're here, then the stops will be somewhere around here. You kind of have to balance your risk to reward ratio with getting into the entry, because you might miss this entry. If you're waiting for this level, you're waiting for this level, you might not get it, right? You might not get sellers pushing that price down to these levels. All right, so cause of action for Bitcoin, wait for this big news, which is FOMC minutes. Okay, we'll decide after the FOMC minutes whether is it bullish for the dollar, bearish for the dollar, and then decide if the entry can be taken here, 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 or here. Cool. Any questions with the analysis, feel free to put it on the chat. We can go through those. Okay. For those of you who wants to know how you can create a ratio between Bitcoin and Ethereum, okay, what you want to do is you want to click on this. You have Ethereum here. What you want to do is you want to look for BTC. Sure, there is a direct. Okay, there is. Okay, so you do BTC. Use one of the bigger ones. Okay, so BTC. What you want to do is you want to divide it by Ethereum. Do the same, and then click. Make sure you have this Binance in front with the colon, Binance colon, and then once you have this, you hit enter, and you get the ratio of Bitcoin to Ethereum. So right now it's 1:41. One Bitcoin is to 41 Ethereum. Okay. So why is this important? By looking at this chart here, okay, you want to see if you were to long Bitcoin or Ethereum, you want to make sure that this is in line with your analysis. Okay, so if you're longing Bitcoin all the way up to April this year, you will probably be long Bitcoin instead of Ethereum. And this huge sell-off here, right? If you want to be long Ethereum, what you will probably want to see is the move up into this key area here and then another major sell-off. And that's where the interest for Ethereum will be higher, right? And you would want to long Ethereum instead of Bitcoin. Okay, but nonetheless, let's look at Ethereum. And it's available on Vantage as well. So look for the symbol from Vantage. Ethereum. Okay. You will kind of want to look at this and say it broke out, but the key level is somewhere around here, $1,800. Okay. So this is important because at some point it's going to come back here. You get a lot of buyers at this level. Okay. This is kind of a long-term view. You might get the entry at 8,800. Okay. But now that we are at 2.6K and it's moving up in this small channel here, okay, this tiny channel here, okay. So with this, you can see where that failure of that resistance happens. And you kind of want to be taking positions in that area here. Okay, so I would kind of look at this level here, tapped in here, 50 minutes. This was this morning. Okay, this was the crossover for your stochastics. Okay, whenever you see this crossover on the uptrend, you want to look for 50% of this entry here. So this has been taken. You probably will not get that any longer. Okay, but this also means that this is going to be a very safe low. Okay. So ideally, what we want to see is we want it to go up higher, and at some point coincide with this level here that was broken. Okay, sellers came in, they got stop out. This entire area here, we want to have that coincide. Okay, so you'll probably see this entire thing play out in a day. 10th of July, that will be tomorrow. Something that we'll be looking forward to. Okay, using a pivot points, that is the target for today, R24. This is a daily target because anything below an hour, the pivot points will be showing your daily pivots. So ideally, you want to see this up, hit the upper limit of this. So you'll probably be expecting upward move all the way to FOMC, and then maybe that is the catalyst. If USD strengthen, then we might see a short-term pullback. Cool. Yeah. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think at some point in time they do diverge, and it's usually due to the interest of the ETFs. So how the ETFs work is that the managers behind the ETFs, when they get funding from investors, their job is pretty simple. Their job is to buy Bitcoin, and they charge a fee to make sure that the Bitcoin is safe, you will not get hacked, and they do it in a very legal manner so that and they distribute it in a very legal manner. So large funds usually have mandates, so they can't just buy Bitcoin off the market, or they can't just buy Bitcoin in some sleazy exchange. So what they do is they usually put the monies in a Bitcoin ETF. That way, the liability has been passed on to the managers of the ETFs. And in any case where Bitcoin, their wallets get hacked, the onus is on the ETFs managers rather than the funds themselves. Okay. So when I look at all this bullish move, Bitcoin versus Ethereum, right? It depends on who's managing it, and also like how much of this inflows can they take in. Cool. So if you guys have any other pairs that you guys want to go through, we can go. You can look at those, but we are left with 1 minute left. So I'll quickly go through some understanding of gold. Let's use another. So gold has kind of lost quite a bit of value since the 3,500. It almost hit the 3,500 again. Okay, the first time it did that was back in March, I think, April. Okay, April it hit that level, and then it's slowly coming back down, forming the lower high. This gives us that indication that we are probably targeting this low here, 3001. So essentially what we want to see is this move down. Coming back into this zone would be a great retracement, and then back into this area here. Okay. So on the daily, not a lot of things to see, but this will be very critical. Why? Because the long-term move, right? This is the bigger move that everyone is watching. Okay. So consolidation because of uncertainty. Are we going to recession? Are we not going to a recession? Are we going to war or are we not going to the wall? And if there are more bad news coming out, then this is going to support the move back up to the higher levels. Otherwise, if everything is peaceful, everything is nice, okay, gold is overbought, right, tremendously for the entire of 2024 and 2025. Okay, just one straight up movement. So you'll probably see some healthy retracements, some selling off, breaking this triangle. Okay, but we'll see. We'll see on the low time frame. It's starting to retrace back. This might be the start of your bullish move back up to the upper side of the triangle. Okay. But if we use pivots below M2, we are bearish. So target will be below this support line. Cool. I guess that's about it. If you guys do not have any other questions, yep. A lot of this analysis can be used. You can actually use all these cool AI models to actually explain or predict where prices are going. So be sure to check them out. Right, not part of Vantage, but just overall AI exuberance in the market right now. Okay, so if you are looking to start the live accounts under promotions, deposit bonus, click on that. You'll get that additional credit. All of our past webinars can be found at this website here. And if you have questions, my name is Sherman, right? Email support@vantagemarkets.com and I will answer those questions. All right, with that, all the best to trading the upcoming trading session. And I'll see you guys again next week.